Good afternoon, everyone. This meeting is being recorded. You should have just gotten a pop-up like I did, so let me say got it. Hang on. This meeting is being recorded for the parents and family members who are unable to attend. My name is Liz Rainey, and I'm the Executive Director of the Pan American Life Student Success Center here at Loyola. And we are so excited to welcome your students and your families to our community this fall. This is an hour-long presentation with myself and a number of our directors and a student tutor to answer your questions. So we just have a very brief overview of our services. I've asked each director to talk about their areas, but really the focus of this is to ensure that you have ample time for questions. So before I get going, just a reminder to keep yourselves on mute while you're part of the conversation. I also want to let you know that you could put questions in the chat as we talk if you prefer, or I assure you we will have more than 40 minutes for your questions. I also want to remind you that since we are recording this conversation, I ask you keep questions about your students' personal background to a minimum. Just ask in generalizations, or we'll connect you to the right resources. So if you have a question, for instance, about disability services, we'll connect you to that person. We don't need to go into great detail. Sound good? Okay. So the Pan American Life Student Success Center is home to these 6 integrated points of service, and we support students from the transition from high school or two-year school to Loyola and into their careers. We are located on the 2nd floor of Monroe Library in a very beautiful donor-funded space that occupies nearly 9,000 square feet, and we will be fully open in person come August 1st. I know many families may not have been able to visit our campus, so I'm so excited to show you around our beautiful area. We are a busy space. In a typical semester, we will have somewhere around 5,000 in-person visits. New, of course, are the virtual modalities of meeting through Zoom and text message and phone. We also host a number of employers and visits. And one of our points of pride is that we employ a number of students. So in a typical year, we employ over 50 students, including peer tutors, success coaches, research assistants, and office assistants. And that's a point of pride to see our students go on for leadership and research opportunities. So I'll turn it to Andrea Rodriguez, who oversees the Office for Accessible Education, to briefly tell you about the services her team provides.
Thank you, Liz. Hello, everyone. Like Liz said, my name is Andrea Rodriguez. I'm the director of the Office for Accessible Education. So I'm so glad to see you guys here today. I hope I can provide some information for you on a path of how to get started to assist your student while they're here on campus with us. So Accessible Education is an office that provides services to students with disabilities, all disabilities, even temporary disabilities. We provide classroom, dining, and housing accommodations for students. So if your student had an IEP or a 504 plan in high school, please connect with us as soon as you can. We like to talk with our students early on to make sure that we have everything they need for them to begin in the fall. We serve about 12% of the student body, so we have about 700 students that go through our offices for all different types of accommodations and services. Most of the accommodations, a similar one that happens often is time and a half for testing. But we also have assistive technology. So we have an audio note-taking system, we have hearing helpers, and we have JAWS screen reading software, we have Kurzweil screen reading software. So we have a lot of things to offer for students. We do provide a distraction-reduced environment for testing. So the majority of our students test in our office versus testing in their classroom. And again, we do facilitate housing, dining, accommodations as well. And one plus for us is at least once a semester, we have volunteers who bring their volunteer therapy dogs, and our students really love to have that touch of home or that sweet kiss from a puppy, so they'll be connected. Most of our students that are eligible for our services will also be eligible for TRIO support services. So that's something that they can go directly from my office to that office to connect. So that's a little bit about us, and I look forward to hearing your questions towards the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Paul Bueller, and I am the director of our Office for Academic Advising and Success Coaching. Our office is here to help your student make the transition to college life, which it can be a very exciting time, but also can be challenging. There's a lot of different parts of the college landscape that students need to learn. Our office is designed to help your student learn about policies, regulations, the ebb and flow of college life throughout the entire first year that they're here. We have 5 full-time success coaches and advisors who are going to be assigned to your students beginning at July. And so they'll be doing their initial outreach, introducing themselves, introducing our services, and establishing a kind of foundational relationship with your students before they arrive here in August. So that way they know who to talk to when they have questions about what showing up here is like. Again, I want to stress that this is a process that unfolds throughout the entire year. Your students are not required to come see us for anything, but we will do our outreach and attempt to convince them to talk to us even when things are going really well. We want to make sure that we're building a good foundation for having successful strategies to navigate all kinds of different things that they're going to encounter while they're here. And so, yeah, I think that what we want to do is make sure that students have that foundation for future success in college, however they define it, by linking specific actions that they can discuss in meetings with our team to their bigger goals, their interests, their values, so that they've established that bedrock foundation that will see them through both immediate challenges, but long-term success as well. And so I'm looking forward to your questions as we keep moving, but that's all from me for now.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nancy Rowe. I am the director of OWLS, which is our on-campus tutoring services. And we offer free peer tutoring for all students. We're very popular. As you can see, 1,000 students visit our tutoring center each year. Each semester. And we have 30 plus student tutors, and they help from, any subject from writing to sciences to math. And we try to, if your student needs help in some obscure topic, we often can find somebody to help with those too. In the fall, we'll be mostly in person, but we will be offering some online tutoring services as well. And I always like to highlight that it's for everyone. I would like to introduce quickly Amelia, who is our student tutor. Amelia, you want to say hi?
Hi, I'm Amelia. I'm a junior and I'm majoring in finance and accounting. I'm one of the OWLS peer tutors and I specialize in economics, accounting, and business analytics. I've been working as a tutor for about a year now, and even as a tutor myself, I still use the tutoring center just to get the opportunity to talk through concepts with other tutors who might have more experience in that course or like a different insight into the course. And really, tutoring is for everyone, not just students who are struggling. And on top of that, we also have some amazing study skills tutors who have lots of great suggestions for time management, organization, and even like communication skills. So we've really got a great team here with a lot of talents.
All right, thank you, Amelia. I look forward to hearing your questions.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jill Boatwright, and I am the director of the Career Development Center. I really hate that I have to follow our amazing students because I know you all love hearing from our students much more than you love hearing from us professionals, but I'll try my best. So the Career Development Center is here to help your student from the first year to the 4th year on their journey to better understanding kind of what they want to do with their life and executing a plan for making that happen after graduation. We help with everything from major and career exploration, job and internship searching, graduate school exploration, and application. We also host a number of recruiting events on campus that happen every year, from career fairs to employer of the day panels and tables. Here's just a sampling of some of the places where our students have interned over the past year, and I look forward to your questions later.
So we promised to keep it succinct so that we had ample space for your questions. I'm going to unshare so I could see the chat. And I'll moderate the questions so I can kick it to my team members. The question comes for Jill. Hi, is career development, does that also include summer internships?
Sure, good question. So the Career Development Center is open 12 months out of the year. So during the summer as well. A lot of our students do end up interning over the summer because they want to intern either back home or in a major market, depending on what industry they're looking at. So we absolutely help students locate internships over the summer. We also find that a lot of student athletes intern over the summer because that is the time when they're available to intern. So I would say at least half of the work that we do surrounding internships is related to summer internships.
Well, Jill, before you hit your mute button, the next question is also for you. When should a student start developing their resume?
Sure, we encourage students to start developing their resume as early as possible. We talk a lot with students about staying prepared. Our students have a great opportunity to build a lot of skills here on campus, whether they are a student assistant through the federal work study program or an RA, a resident assistant, a crew leader, or they take on a leadership position in an organization or serve as a student tutor. And so we work with our students to start developing their resumes as soon as they are ready. So first year ideally, but we also work with them throughout the process because we know, there are updates to come and there's different opportunities to interact with them in classes. And so I would definitely say as a first year, since we're talking to first year parents today.
So the question, and Jeannie, if you're able to introduce yourself, I may ask you to do so. So for students in OAE, that's the abbreviation for the Office of Accessible Education. Other schools or other places may call it disability services, just for clarity. The question is, how are these services coordinated and how do students manage the different resources and communication? And so some of that I would just say by physically, Andrea and Jeannie are probably 50 feet apart. In terms of our space, we are all physically co-located, which is clearly a benefit, but I'll let you all elaborate on the kind of systems we have for communication between offices.
So I can go first real quick. Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeannie Brown, Director of TRIO Student Support Services, and I apologize that my camera is off. The weather is really bad, so I don't want to interfere with internet connections. But TRIO is a federal program that targets first-generation students, low-income students, and students who have a document disability. And how I coordinate with the Office of Accessible Education, the student self-identifies as a disabled student on a TRIO application. And what happens is we kind of interview the students and tell them about the services that we offer, which will be academic advising, tutoring. We have informational workshops geared towards financial literacy, careers, etc. And basically the TRIO program is designed to assist Loyola students who meet the eligibility to get to their first bachelor's degree. And how we coordinate with Office of Accessible Education is that once a student self-identifies, we connect with that office and ensure that the student is registered for that particular service because we do not provide accommodations in the TRIO program. We want to direct the student to the resources of accessible education to get all the resources for their disability. However, the TRIO program will continue to work with the student with time management, organizational skills, and ensure that they're on track for graduation because our job is to ensure they earn their first bachelor's degree.
Thank you, Jeannie. And yes, like Liz said, we are 50 feet apart, but we're like 2 seconds apart with an email or a Google chat. So I feel like we're even closer. The difference between the two offices, for the Office for Accessible Education, we provide classroom accommodations so students will be able to share that information with their faculty if they need extra time or testing in a quiet room. Anyone that's eligible for my office that wants additional services that TRIO would be able to give them, we definitely refer them over. We want to make sure, just like our circles are interconnected with all offices in the SAC, we're just a phone call or an email away from each other to make sure that our students are well-rounded and they take advantage of all the resources we have. We also send a lot of students through OWLS for tutoring. So I think we work really well together, but the students are aware that we're two separate entities, but that they can receive services from both.
Thank you. And I'm just to keep on that topic, and we'll come back to the advisor coach question. I just wanted to clarify succinctly, Jeannie, could you just correct, there are 3 eligibility criteria for students. It's not just accessible students with accommodations. I did post the link, but can you clarify there's 3 different federally dictated criteria for students to be eligible for TRIO?
The federal criteria is 1, first generation. In the federal government determination of first gen is that mom and dad did not earn their first bachelor's degree. If the parent earned an associate's degree or a technical diploma or a certificate, the student is still considered first gen. As long as mom or dad did not earn a first bachelor's degree, they're considered first gen. The second one is low income. Basically, the government has a set federal guideline that we adhere to based on household size and income. Also, students who are Pell eligible are considered low income. And then the last one be self-identified as a disabled student on a TRIO application. And that's when we initiate the conversation with accessible education. So those are the 3 federal guidelines to qualify for the TRIO program. Some students meet all 3, some students meet just only 1. Long as they are eligible and a student is willing to commit to earning their first bachelor's degree, they're welcome to our program.
Thank you, Jeannie. And I want to clarify that TRIO is one, a grant-funded, a federally funded grant program. But these services, the rest of the services that we described are available to all of our Loyola undergrads. So TRIO is embedded within our office. We refer and support and co-train and collaborate, but every incoming student has access to an advisor coach, to free tutoring, to resume critique, to Andrea's office if they seek accommodation. So I do want to clarify that we make our services, including I see a question about time management and organization. We have a robust calendar of workshops and that teach students everything from how to properly cite using MLA and APA, to using to avoiding plagiarism, to communication with professors. And many of those come through our OWLS team and faculty and tutors as well. So I do want to pull on the thread about so Dr. Paul answered the advisor coach question, but I know incoming students and their families often have a lot of questions like, where's my schedule? How do I change my schedule? Who's my advisor coach? So Paul, could you just answer for if there's a student right now who has no idea or wants to know more about their schedule and their major, what do they do? Who do they go to?
Thanks, Liz. That's a layered answer in general. So through July, we've been building schedules for students who are deposited, but have also submitted their pre-registration or advising survey through the portal in admissions. So if your student has completed that survey, chances are they already have a schedule and they should have heard from a member of their academic department who helped build that schedule. Usually a department chair, but sometimes a summer advisor who's assigned to do that initial outreach and welcome. Our office only builds schedules for students in the exploratory studies program. So if your student is majoring in exploratory studies for now, they should have already heard from an advisor coach in our office to discuss their schedules with them. If your student has deposited but has not completed the survey, beginning in July, we're going to start building on a rolling basis schedules for those students. So once again, you'll hear, or the student will hear, as soon as they have a schedule, from the member of their department who helped build that schedule. So again, advising at Loyola is a multi-layered project, right? So every student has a faculty member in their home department who is assigned as an academic advisor. That information is in your student's LoRa profile or account under the advisor tab. Our office specializes in first-year students making that transition to college, guiding them through the first year, offering a kind of 30,000-foot generalist view of what academic and student life at Loyola looks like. Academic advising is an important part of what we do, but it's not the only thing that we do. And so we assign advisors not by a student's major or anything like that. We try to offer that sort of sweeping understanding of academic life. It's important that if your student decides they want to change their major, or if they decide they want to minor in something or double major in something, our perspective on the curriculum and student life allows us to give them the best advice to plan for what that looks like. And so we can help them do those kinds of things. And so like I said, schedules will continue to unfold throughout the summer, and they should be hearing from our office beginning in July specifically to answer any questions about, again, big picture stuff, but also specific questions about schedules.
I'm going to come back to the work study question because, Paul, before you unmute, a parent of a student who has significant transfer credits, we just wanted to know what information should they know about transfer credits for incoming freshmen, or where can they access how that will play out.
Okay. No, evaluating transfer credit is a process that takes a little bit of time. Our office does not evaluate transfer credits. Those all happen in your student's home college. So if your student is a music major or fine arts major, that assessment happens in the College of Music and Media. There are, an English major, sociology major, a science major, that happens in the College of Arts and Sciences. And then the College of Business handles all the business majors as well. That provides a perspective, again, on like rough equivalencies between the schools they're coming from and what we offer here to make sure that it'll fit into the curriculum and that everything is pointed in the appropriate way. So for students coming in as transfer students, we do make our services available to transfer students to answer some of those bigger picture questions about academic life at Loyola. But in general, that happens by request. So if you have a transfer student who is an upperclassman just by virtue of the number of credits that they of course can request an advisor coach through our website. There's a link in the advisor coach tab that will allow them to establish that relationship with an advisor coach in our office specifically. Again, to help map out what their remaining time in college at Loyola looks like. We're totally available to do that.
Thanks, Paul. So I love this next question. So for many students, part of their financial aid award will include something called work study. I did work study all 4 years. So a parent is asking, what are the next steps for a freshman in the work study program? And Jill, maybe you could just describe what is work study? What are the expectations of having this as part of your financial aid? And what do they do next?
Sure. So if your student received an aid package, which includes federal work study, that means that they're eligible to work on campus. Depending on the award, it evens out to generally about 10 hours a week, give or take, depending on holidays and consistencies and things like that. With incoming first years, they are going to be very much exploring different offices, seeing where they fit in, where they want to work for their work study. So in August or so, you'll get more information about starting to apply for work study positions using our job and internship board Handshake. And then when you come to campus, that first week, there will be a federal work study fair for your student to connect with different departments.
Thanks, Jill. Correct. So Parents Weekend, there's a question about Parents Weekend. So that is traditionally hosted by Student Affairs and even Alumni Relations. Res Life actually coordinates it. So that will be announced in August. We're not aware of that yet. It has in the past been in the fall. Obviously last year was different, but stay tuned for that. I'll also share that you all probably received a parent, like Families of the PAC or Parents of the PAC newsletter. As long as your email address is associated with your student, which I'm making the leap that since you all are here, it is, but one way to check that is there was a link in the chat called Laura, and it's not Laura the name, it's Loyola Online Records Access. Your student can log in and make sure that your parent email is connected and that you would have access. Laura is not only where your student would see their advisor, but if you so choose, that would be where you as a parent might see their schedule. That would be where you would say midterm and final grades. So I highlight this because that's a place for you to know what's going on with your student. It is also where, you know, many folks make payments towards their bills or collect tax information. Uh-oh, I appear to be frozen. Oh no.
We can still hear you, Liz.
Oh, you can hear me, but I'm frozen awkwardly. Okay, well then I will keep talking until my face stops doing that. I do think it's a good conversation point for you to have with your student to say, you know, what information are you going to share with me? What information do you as a parent access, such as midterm grades or a process called early warning, where we ask faculty for feedback. I'm going to ask Nancy, since you came off mute, could you look in the chat for the next question so I can try to get myself back fully connected? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. We have a question. The question is, can or will students be given regularly scheduled appointments in TRIO or Student Success Center to help them with executive functioning skills? Are scheduled weekly or more appointments available for students who need that very regular check-in?
I can take the TRIO. I put in a chat that TRIO students, once they're in the program, they meet with their academic advisor at least a minimum of 3 times a semester, at the beginning, the middle, and towards the end. However, students do have scheduled appointments based on particular topics, midterm grades, final grades, or workshops. So if a student needs a weekly appointment based on a focus topic, they can have those weekly appointments set up with their advisor.
And I also just want to add, if your student is not in TRIO, but they need weekly help with a specific subject matter or even just study skills, they are allowed 5 appointments actually per week with a tutor. So they can sit down with a peer for additional help.
For our services and coaching and advising as well, it's very similar to TRIO. Students do not have to come see us, but if they schedule appointments to meet with us regularly, we'll see them as many times as they want to meet.
Let's see, I'm just looking for some more questions here. Let's see, we have a question. Uh-oh, sorry, I'm trying to get to the top here. I think that's, oh, do we get a different Laura account from our child? Someone asked that question.
Can you all still hear me? Oh, or you got it, Paul?
We can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, there's a separate sort of Laura link for parents than there is for students. So if you go to Laura, which I think Liz shared the link, you'll see that there are 2 different options that would be relevant. One of them is log into student services, and there's another one for logging into parent services. And through that link, you should be able to see, depending on FERPA and FERPA status, you know, what your student has allowed you to see of their academics. You should be able to access basic information about a schedule, early warnings, grades, midterm grades, advisors, things like that.
And do you know that link off the top of your head for parents?
I'll find it and try to share.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if y'all can still hear me, on the link I sent, it has the student login as well as the parent login. If you don't have access to it, it's a conversation to have with your student so that they can sign a FERPA release for you to view their academic profile. And I think, again, I always stress to families at this time of year that it's a really good conversation to have with your student about communication expectations and what do you expect them to relate to you versus what are you going to let them manage on their own. I'm so sorry that I'm frozen, and because I'm the host, I confess I'm afraid to leave the meeting. So I'm just going to go with it. But I did have a question for Amelia, if you don't mind. Amelia, if you're willing to put yourself back in time when you were, about to start college, what information do you wish you had, or do you wish that your family understood, just to kind of ask about that transition, because there's so much, there's so many questions lingering in a student's mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think my situation was a little bit unique to me. I was a late deposit, so I really didn't deposit to Loyola until beginning of August, I think. So all of this information I really didn't have until like the day of orientation. So I definitely can't really speak to, I was enrolled at a different school, so I can't really speak to getting this information over the summer, but all of that, I wish I knew about the tutoring center like earlier on. I really wasn't that aware of it even while I was on campus. And I think also I'm not a first generation student, but just having like, it's been a long time since my parents went to college. So having a more updated conversation with someone who's more familiar about Loyola specifically too.
It looks like we have another question. It says, does student success, do we track students and to intervene if they don't request meetings?
I think I can take that. Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, we do. I mean, we do have ways of identifying students who could benefit from our services before they come to realize that they could benefit from our services. So, of course, as Paul said, and many of us, we're eager to connect with your students really, now going forward, because we do find a great benefit in having a proactive approach so that students know to come to with questions, so that we don't only find students maybe after they stumble. Sometimes students don't discover that our services until they're referred to it, which is also okay. But one of the processes that we have in place is called early warning or early alert. And so every year, about into the third or fourth week of the semester, we ask faculty for feedback about attendance and assignments. And it's a very simple process. It doesn't have tremendous levels of detail, but it helps us identify students who could certainly benefit from our support. And so you as parents would get a notification from me just saying, early warnings have posted on Laura. This is a time to access them. I don't typically individually email parents, but I do let parents know that that's out. And what we do is I'll look for patterns of concern. So if a student is missing 3 classes, we will certainly reach out to that student. And by reach out, we will do, we will email, we will send a text message. We will try creative ways to get their attention. This is also a good place to highlight a really wonderful collaborative committee that includes a number of members of the student success team as well as student affairs, called the Behavioral Intervention Team, or BIT, BIT. And that's a committee that has met for, oh my goodness, much more than a decade, I think probably 20 years. We meet once a week to discuss any students of concern. And that could be, so for instance, we'll have a family member, a grandparent will pass away. And so the committee will take that information and we might send a resident chaplain to go knock on that student's door. We might have an early warning report that a student is missing 3 or more classes. And so if we're unable to get their attention in our typical ways, we might send someone to check in on them. Other concerns, again, might have to do with health and wellness, making sure students are aware of resources like counseling, as well as the services and student success. So all this to say that we have lots of systems while we try to build proactive relationships with students, we do have ways of sort of capturing students who might who might not know that our services are available and can support them.
Okay, thank you. We have another question, and maybe this is for you, Paul. Can you explain a bit about the freshman seminar and portfolio?
Sure, and I'll have to share responsibilities for explaining portfolio with Jill, I think. But so the first year seminar is a series of classes that used to be, or perhaps still does, belong to what Loyola call first year experience. So it is a class that introduces college level thinking. So it's within an academic discipline that is probably not part of your student's major. So it can be in philosophy, history, religious studies, one of the sciences, and business. That again introduces a special topic that will sort of introduce them to how, say, a seminar in college works. But it also has elements of introducing students to campus life and academics. So at regular parts of the year, they walk them through different processes like pre-registration advising, registering for classes. They'll have sections on connecting with tutoring, on connecting with career development, connecting with our office. Our office in advising and coaching supplies a liaison to each first year seminar that will come at regular intervals to discuss those processes and support the instructors of those classes. The first year seminar is a requirement of all first year students. So we get that question a lot. So a student will see like 2 philosophy classes on their schedule, and one of them will be a first year seminar. And so we try to explain that part of the curriculum. Portfolio is a business college specific program that provides student support in what is, I think, a 1 hour, once a week class that discusses elements of academic advising and some career development. But of course, students are free to use our services in any way that they like. And so I don't know if Jill wanted to say anything in addition about what Portfolio does differently than what our career development office does, but yeah, there's a relationship there.
Sure, I see our the College of Business Portfolio Center as a great partner for the Career Development Center. We partner together in terms of our relationship with employers and bringing them to campus. It's just with the College of Business students, some of the career education pieces are embedded in their curriculum.
And I can take any more questions on portfolio as a business student.
Thanks. So the next question is, here's someone whose student is entering as a 17-year-old, and they want to know what that means regarding FERPA.
Ooh, that's an interesting one. I think, Andrea, do you know by chance? I think by default, if your student is a financial dependent, we sometimes just grant that access to you. But the person to double check with is Miss Kathy Gross, G-R-O-S. She has been at Loyola for a very, very delightfully long time, and she oversees the Student Records Office. So does anyone know by chance if a student is 17, if we just, I sometimes that question I have to double check, but again, the majority of our students do grant their parents access to their records because we see parents as a partner and we want you all to be involved. But I don't know if by default, if we have like a default setting for a student who's 17, but I can follow up with you if I'm going to sign out and try to sign back in so that my face is no longer frozen, but I'm happy to follow up with you individually about that.
After some very preliminary sleuthing, the Department of Education sort of section on FERPA, I've tried to include what I think would be relevant. It says that the right to do this transfers automatically 18 or when any student of any age enters a post-secondary institution, even if not 18. There may be loopholes to that, of course. It's, a government document, but I posted there just to, food for thought kind of thing.
The next question is Loyola Chicago considered a sister school? And if so, what sorts of benefits, if any, does that relationship offer students at Loyola? Okay.
Sorry, Nancy, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I can kind of jump in there from a career perspective. I know different units do different things, but the AJCU schools are all of our Jesuit colleges and universities across the country. There are 27 of them. Different units collaborate in different ways. Career centers have a process that's called reciprocity. So if we have a student, for example, that goes to Loyola New Orleans that wants to intern or work in Chicago, we can request on behalf of the student that they get access to the job board at Loyola Chicago or at you know, any of the other Jesuit colleges or universities. So that's one benefit and one way we collaborate.
Thanks. We have a question about parent PIN numbers. Has that been answered already? Paul, do you want to?
Unfortunately, I don't know the answer to that question.
I can't see that. I know that the default, is that what the question is? The default for the PIN?
For the parent's PIN, yeah, for in Laura.
The default for the parent PIN, if you, I'm going to show you all. It should be the first two letters of your student's first name and the last four of their social. It used to be very clearly laid out on the website. So if I'm Elizabeth, I'm EL and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So I would try that as the default. But again, if you don't have access but want access, I would talk to your student, have them log into Laura, and then there's always a way that you can sign up for it through student records. But I just think it's a really important conversation to let your student know, like, hey, I'm going to have expectations about your grades and what I can see this fall.
Next question is, do you recommend freshman seminar in the first semester for students who are in OAE? My student doesn't have it in her first, on her first semester schedule right now.
So I'm going to answer the OAE part of that. The more knowledge your student has about college and the inner workings of college, the better. However, with our students that are registered with OAE, sometimes I don't want them to be pushed with having too many classes that first semester. So Paul might be able to answer the question as far as, do we recommend it for the student and tell you how to add that to your schedule. But, you know, we try to keep it light that first semester for students that are registered with us.
Thank you, Andrea. It's not uncommon for students to have to wait till their second semester to take a first year seminar. That's perfectly normal part of the process that we see unfolding. We do have first year seminars in the spring. We really just kind of want to make sure they get through it in that first year. Part of that is possible because our office exists. Outside of, you know, again, content specific stuff that they'll find in those classes, our office and the automatically assigned advisor coach to your student will provide a lot of that information about processes and resources to supplement and complement what is normally taught in a first year seminar.
I will also put in a plug, though, that we did just get 2 classes approved, one myself and one someone from Paul's team will be teaching. So we are still adding to the fall schedule. So just know that this is an evolving process for students. And I see that Andrea, okay, added us up. Oh, so I can tell you about my class because I'm teaching it. So my background is in, I mean, thank you. I'm glad you find it interesting. My background is in, I'm a doctoral candidate in higher education leadership. So my class will be called the College Multiverse. And it's really about the hidden meaning and systems of higher education. So we'll kind of go through the history and evolving philosophy of higher ed. And I'll use that as a way of teaching students about sort of the different ways we call it, kind of the different system that they're in. I'm really excited about it. And Leslie Ramlin from Paul's team will be teaching kind of a combination of oral history of the South, a kind of a history English class. So they are really cool classes. There are very dedicated faculty. So if the student schedule allows, it's great to have it there. But just know that we're evolving. We just got approval for this class like a day ago, so it's just getting on Laura. So bear with us. If the schedule is not perfect, lots changes, and we keep working with students and departments until August.
So we have another question about counseling services and, you know, asking to say more. And I guess I will just say that Andrea responded with the counseling services website link. We do not have counseling services under the Student Success Center, but the university does offer counseling services. It's called UCC, or the University Counseling Center. And you can look up more about that in the link that Andrea provided for you.
We do host regular anxiety management workshops. We'll partner with them, and those are really popular among our students, that just coping skills for managing anxiety in partnership with counseling. But we work, and I will clarify that counseling, similar to parts of OAE, operates under medical privacy. So if we work with counseling, it's really on kind of a one-way directional. You know, I can't know that a student is seeking counseling services, nor can you as a parent, unless the student very clearly signs a HIPAA waiver that is different than a FERPA waiver. FERPA gives you access to educational records, such as their schedule and their grades and their bill. That does not include things that we consider medically private. And so I think that's a really important clarification. And sometimes I say that to a student, like, I'll never know if you go to counseling. Your mom will never know. This is for you. But know that there are, like all policies, there are exceptions if there's a risky situation. Oh, and Dale is promoting the student affairs panel, which will clarify more about that. If folks are having trouble with the PIN, I'm going to just put my email. So if you have questions about my seminar or the Laura PIN, I'll put that in the chat right now. Sorry, go ahead.
One question is, anxiety management is distinct from counseling, right? And I'm going to just answer that really quick. We do have the workshops on anxiety, but it is, and often those are led by counselors, licensed counselors. And so it kind of depends. Sometimes we will give like homework anxiety workshops, and that will be housed in our office. But might have a workshop where we'll invite a counselor in to talk about anxiety. But if your student suffers from anxiety and they need individual counseling, they can go to the UCC for that. Does anyone else have more questions? And feel free to ask out loud if you want to. Or did I miss a question? Jill, there's one for you. Are campus jobs available for non-work study students?
Yes, so there are jobs on campus for students who are not work study eligible, and your student can find out more about those the same place they would find out about the work study jobs. It's in Handshake, which is our online job and internship board.
Yeah, I'll just want to add that OWLS hires students who are non-work study to work as tutors. Usually we hire students who have had the classes that they're tutoring for already, so they come to us as sophomores, juniors, or seniors, but we do hire some work study students in writing to help with other students in their writing courses. So.
I also want to brag on Nancy because the students who work with her stay with her all 4 years because it's a really fun and collaborative dynamic. Tutors are trained really thoughtfully. They've been given a lot of feedback, and many of them go on for teaching and research and PhD programs and all sorts of interesting things. So certainly I want to highlight that. There was an interesting question. Do they ever post? Yes. So Ms. Lisa, so if you go on the same place where the Laura portal is, if you just go on the schedule of classes, and you just filter by academic department, you can see who's scheduled to teach. You'll only get last name, so I'll appear as Rainey E, which is only, so useful. Every now and then you'll see staff, but that just means that they have someone in mind and it just hasn't been assigned yet. But that doesn't mean that it won't exist. So certainly most classes I've seen are already posted. Are there outside services? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Nancy.
Oh yeah, go ahead. You might be able to answer this one.
Are there outside services that can be recommended for things not covered at Loyola, like ADHD coaching? Sure. I mean, we have had students, we're really proud. And I do want to highlight too that our advising and coaching team and a number of folks on our team are certified success coaches. We are in partnership with a company called Inside Track, and they have trained us, and many of us have either passed certification, and we have a couple of people, a cohort who are going to pass certification this summer. So I'm really proud of the coaching that we can do, but there are some students whose needs extend beyond what we can offer. And so have been circumstances, maybe Andrea, you could elaborate, where you have made an external referral. Maybe if you identify that your student maybe needs daily support with a tutor or a coach, that might be something that we would recommend.
Sure. So some of our students, I'm diagnosed with ADHD as well, so a lot of reminders are really important for our students. One place that I connected with is called Mind Coach NOLA. They're local and they work with students at Loyola, Tulane, Xavier. What they do is they help students, number one, get organized, but then number two, they keep them accountable for things that they need to complete. So it's kind of like, we're going to organize you, we're going to see what you need done today, but then on top of that, we're also going to have you send us a photograph or a way of being accountable for completing that item. So Mind Coach NOLA is a different set of fees. It's an outside agency, but I have seen the work they've done with our students and they do a really good job. We do have some local agencies that support autism as well. So please look into New Orleans autism programs. Any student coming to campus, we can connect them with either a local agency, or there's some student-ran organizations that they can connect with that might help them with the interests that they have. So Mind Coach NOLA comes to mind because I have had interaction with them and I've seen the results, but there are others in the area.
Do we have any other questions?
So I can take this one, Nancy. And again, so for a long time, so we had a shared dining partnership with Tulane, and we also have cross-enrollment processes. As you can imagine, COVID changed all that last year. Does someone from Student Affairs have an update on dining? Because that again falls under Student Affairs, not under us. I think so that I'll have to find out. It will most likely be shared. So, okay, thank you, Dale. So most likely it will be shared. I think some of these, as you can imagine, some of these decisions, I think where everyone's evaluating the CDC data, the vaccination data, I'm probably going to make all of these decisions, but it was very popular. But I'll tell you a fun fact. Everyone seems to think the food tastes better at Loyola, including Tulane students. And it's been true. I've been at Loyola for 10 years and people have always said it. So there's something very special about our community. And yes, dining is very important though. But for novelty, it's good to go next door. Oh, good. Thank you, Ms. Clara. And thank you, Nancy. Sorry for the awkward freeze in the middle. I guess it wouldn't be a Zoom meeting if somebody didn't do that, though. I guess if there's no more questions, this is just the first of all, if you have a burning question before 5 o'clock, come back. You could come back, but also, I mean, listen, we're excited to meet you and your students. We see families as part of the community. We have many folks on campus. One of our team members has an incoming first year. And so she's going through all the same anxieties as you and trying to navigate what it's like to have a son in college. So reach out to us if you have questions, if anything just feels super unclear, and if you can remember nothing, just go ahead and email me. You could also always just email success@loino, if that's the easiest thing to remember. That's managed by our wonderful office manager, Mary, who's been here off camera listening and supporting you all. She would forward a question to us. But come August 2nd, we'll be in the office getting ready for what we hope is going to be an amazing fall semester. And Dale is putting in information. Again, there'll be a student affairs panel in July, and that will cover some of the questions about counseling, student life, ministry, residence halls, but know that we all do work together. All right. Well, with that, we're excited to see you and your students, and thank you to the team for being here. And again, just hit any of us up with questions, especially as you kind of process the lots of information we gave you these 55 minutes. All right. Take care, all.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for coming.